Hi everyone, it's your girl Desiree. I'm back with another video. I'm gonna try not to make this too long. I tried to record it before, but kind of talking a while, so yeah. But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. This video I want to talk about Dababy, Lil Nas X, T.I., Tory Lanez. Those are like the main names that I'm hearing about right now as far as controversy and outrage. Of course, Dababy is like one of the main ones, like right at this moment. But and Ti, but the other two have also kind of been drawn back into the talk again. So yeah. So some of the things that I'm gonna say are probably not gonna be popular. Some people may get upset, but what can you do? I'm just gonna share some of my views on it. I'm not gonna go too much into whether I agree with the comments or not, or whether I support the people or not. It's just more so on other things that I've noticed about the whole outrage. So one of the first things I want to say is that outrage sells, controversy sells, and I know some people are like, duh, we already know about that, but I think a lot of times we tend to forget. We tend to forget because every time when somebody says something that's already been said 1,000 times by other people, we get outraged. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be called out when they say or do certain things if they're public figures. People have a right to their opinion. If they don't like something that's being said or done, they have a right to voice that opinion. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that every time when we see it, it's almost like we get outrageous if it's the first time that it has happened. Like, that's literally how it seems at times. And a lot of times the outrage is purely from only emotions. Like, there's no logic behind it. It's one thing when the outrage and the anger that you have is also fueled by logic mixed with reason and emotion, right? So when you're saying what you're saying, it makes sense. You know why you're saying it. You know it's based on a conviction that you have. And it's not just purely anger, right? Another thing about outrage is that it's very contagious. So a lot of times when one person gets outraged, another person gets outraged, and another person gets outraged, and then it becomes like a group thing type of thing where now you have a whole group of people who are now outraged. And some of the people who initially were probably not angry, or maybe they were just a little angry, now they're just as outraged as other people. A lot of people, their emotions are not their own. They are easily influenced by the media. They're easily influenced by other people and how they feel about certain things. And then it makes them angry, it makes them afraid, it makes them have the same emotions that the other people are exhibiting as well. And so I think we need to make sure that when we are speaking out about things that we may not agree with, that we're not just using emotion, but we're also using logic. And also that the emotions that we are exuding are not just somebody else's emotions or something that has been placed into us by the programming that's around us. And that leads me into the other part about outrage that I noticed, that sometimes the outrage is not always real, right? It's not always real, or sometimes it's like kind of misdirected. So, for example, sometimes you'll see certain people like get really outraged about something. And I think we've all done this to an extent, so we all have to be careful of this. But we'll be really angry about one person saying or doing something, but then when another person says or does the same thing, we don't get outraged with that person because maybe they're a different gender, or they have a different sexual orientation, or because maybe they're a Christian and we're a Christian, or maybe it's a celebrity that you happen to really like and that celebrity can do no wrong. Maybe they're of a different race. I don't know. But sometimes, like, I notice that, like, people will give passes to people that they like because of certain things that person has. But then when it's somebody else, they're quick to jump on that person for saying and doing the same exact thing. So that's the part that I've noticed that can be problematic. For example, I see people outraged about a lot of things that men are doing to women. And I do agree that some of the things do need to be called out, the inappropriate, behaviors and things that women have dealt with. I'm not even just talking about criminal stuff, but just the inappropriate stuff because of the culture. I get that. But then when I see women doing the same exact thing to men, nobody takes it seriously. Everybody's even laughing at times, even when the men are victims. So this is the part that I'm kind of confused, because I'm like, if you really are upset about the abuse or about the inappropriate behavior, then you would be upset regardless of who does it, not just when men do it. You would be disgusted when women do it. You'd be disgusted when black people do it, and white people do it, and Asian people do it. You know, right? It wouldn't really matter who's doing it, because the act itself is what is important to you, not who it's attached to. And that's just what I believe. Another example is kind of how with Lil Nas X, a lot of people are, outraged about the things that he's been putting out, the kind of content he's been putting out. Okay, I get it. I totally get it. Especially because a lot of his fan base are children and young people. I get it. But how come people aren't angry at a lot of these TV shows and these movies that a lot of times have the same type of imagery? There's a lot of movies that are very dark, very rooted in like occultism, is rooted in like demonic, satanic stuff like that, and people like it. Even things like Hellboy. I mean, that's not something that's dark too. Like that's almost. I mean, it's not sexual, but it's the same concept of having somebody from like some type of satanic thing. And then there's other artists who put like all types of stuff in their music videos, like these occult sorry, occult stuff. These all these different imagery, these colors, these patterns, the animals. I mean, they just go on and on. They've been doing this for years. Everybody used to say, "Oh, if you believe in that, you conspiracy this and conspiracy that," but everybody's seeing it for what it is now. Now they're not trying to hide it. They are blatantly putting it in your face. So my thing is like, if you're gonna get mad at him for doing it, you also have to call out other artists. So I like to watch things that teach about those type of stuff, but I don't watch it just for one artist. I see how they talk about all the artists that do it, and I understand too, like even on a personal level, that there's a lot of music and shows and things that I'm trying to be careful of listening to and watching. And it's challenging. As far as shows, I don't really watch TV like that. But even with movies, we do have to be careful the things that we're allowing into our space, because as much as we like to say, oh, it doesn't influence me, I'm a strong person, we are very influenced. Our mind, body, and spirit is very susceptible to different types of things that we're watching and listening to, and things that we're engaging in, right? So we do have to be careful. And that's something that I'm working on. So I try not to focus on just one artist. Like I may see an artist do something that's crazy, in my opinion, and I may no longer support that artist or no longer watch their stuff. But then I know that there may be other artists that are doing something similar or even worse that I need to pay attention to as well, because it's not just one artist. It's many artists. The whole industry is full of this stuff. The whole industry is has an agenda of the type of imagery that they push out there. So they're just using certain artists that they know are very popular and that are very likable, and then they're going to push that hard with those artists. But it's not just one artist, it's the whole industry itself. And that's why certain people who have the talent, who are not willing to put out certain things, a lot of times they don't sell the way they could have sell, because they're not willing to go that extra mile, and it just is what it is. Yeah, so I think that, and another thing too about outrage is that a lot of times like we get outraged too because we're also looking for attention. We're looking for attention. We're looking for other people to feel the same way we feel. I am so outraged about the thing that T.I. said. Can you believe that he said that? Oh my goodness, can you believe him? And he got these allegations already, and then somebody says, yeah, 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 I can't believe him. And a third person comes in, and now it's like a whole group of people that's outraged. We have to be careful that we're not just being outraged just because we just want attention. You know what I mean? Like, because that's another thing too. Same thing how sometimes we can play like the victim mentality thing and be all like depressed and sad. And that doesn't mean that we may not genuinely be depressed and sad. But sometimes we do it also to get attention that we may not be getting otherwise. So we do have to be aware of those type of things. I'm not saying that there are not people who are genuinely outraged about the things that these four artists have said or done, or allegedly, because some of the stuff has not been, we don't know, we haven't seen it unless somebody actually says something out of their mouth or they do it and I see it. I don't know if they did it or not. I can't say that. So I don't deny it, but I also don't say yeah they did that, because I don't know. I wasn't there. Right, with Dababy, okay, it was clear. We saw it, he said it. he was on stage. You know what I mean? Like, that's clear. The Ti video, okay, the Lil Nas stuff that he's putting out, we see the video. You know what I mean? So some things are clear, but some things that celebrities are being accused of, we don't really know for sure because we weren't there. So that's very challenging, especially in the day and age now where a lot of people are making allegations that may not be true, which is actually pretty sad, because then the people who really are dealing with victimhood, who's to know who's really a victim? Because at this point everybody is coming out and saying they're a victim, but we don't really know who's a victim and who's not. And that's why it's very challenging to know. But that's why I also don't try to deny something, because if it is true, I don't want to be the person to say, oh, I don't think this person could do that, because I don't put anything past anybody, including myself. So I think that yeah, I'm not going to be outraged about something that I can't even prove. Like, that's just like, maybe the idea of it I can be outraged about, but I'm not going to go on social media and make a big roar about it because I can't actually prove that actually was said or done by that artist. I can't do that. And also, even if the artist did do something that I can see that they've done or said, it's not always meant for me to go on the internet every single time and build like a whole outrage movement over it. You know what I mean? Like, I do feel like things should be called out, but it's not always meant for everything to be addressed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's always necessary as well. It's one thing if somebody is just trying to like educate people on it or use it as a learning lesson, that's one thing. But as far as like bashing the person and calling them names and calling and saying they should be canceled, I don't believe that that's necessary every single time unless the person really said or did something that was just that egregious. So yeah, it really just depends too on who is being offended by it, because different people are going to be offended by different things. So just because you're offended by it doesn't mean that I have to be offended by it, and vice versa. That's another thing too. A lot of people expect you to be outraged about things that they're outraged about. You can be outraged about it. That doesn't mean that I have to be outraged about it. We are two different people. And even if I am outraged about it, that doesn't mean that I'm going to make it publicly known. So you're assuming that I'm not angry about it just because I'm not talking about it, just because I'm not posting about it. But it doesn't mean that I'm not angry about it. Like I said, I don't feel the need to have to post everything. Like, now at this stage in my life, I'm trying to be a lot more strategic in what I share online and what I get upset about and what I get, also fearful about, because I know that those emotions are very strong. And I also know that the media also plays on people's emotions and they want you to react a certain way. It's almost like they also put out things on purpose to rile up certain emotions in people, because it's all just for it's all just to create more money, to create more buzz. So I'm not saying that some artists aren't really who they are portraying, but I also believe that even the people that they work for are using this to their advantage. They're using this. So at the end of the day, you know, um, outrage sells, and that's basically what I wanted to say with that. Also, what do we expect from these people? They say that they're not role models. So the kind of content that they're going to put out is going to be violent. It's going to be lewd. It's going to be perverted. It's going to be rooted in demonic, satanic occultism. Like, that's what the industry is. Not all artists do this, but many of them do. Even the ones that people love and the ones that can do no wrong, they also put that stuff in their music as well. People may not want to see that. They may only want to look at Lil Nas X, but there's a lot of artists that people love that they won't call out those people and say, "Oh, I'm so outraged that they could just go ahead and just do this." You know what I mean? Like, they don't call that out. And I respect people who call it out regardless of who the person is, because at least that person is standing in their truth and saying, "I do not agree with this," regardless of who does it. Whether it's a female artist or whether it's a male artist, whether it's a black person or a white person, I don't agree with it because it goes against my morals and my values. That I respect more than, oh, I'm only going to get mad when this person does it. But then when this person does the same exact thing, because they're a different type of person, like maybe they're not of the same gender or the same race, all of a sudden now I'm going to be outraged over here but not be outraged over there. So I just feel like people sometimes, as humans, we pick and choose what we want to be outraged about based on the person. And if we like the person, it's almost like they can do no wrong. It's like, no, well, if you're going to call out these people call out the other ones who are doing the same things too. And I'm not saying you have to call out every single person. That's insane. You know, like the industry is full of this stuff. So if that was the case, you would have to call out almost every single person that's mainstream. Because like I said, almost every person that's mainstream is putting out this type of stuff. They might not be saying the exact same things, you know, but as far as like their imagery, that's what they're doing. So, you know, if you really are against satanic occultism, anti-God stuff, you really have to stop listening to a lot of the music nowadays and watching a lot of the shows and the movies, because a lot of it is anti-God. I mean, it just is what it is, you know. And that's why I was saying before that I think that we have to be careful with the things we're listening to and watching, and that's something that I know I want to keep working on. It's not easy. Like, I like my movies that are like suspense, action, thriller, not horror, but action thriller, you know. I know sometimes it can be violent. I like my songs sometimes that may not be always appropriate. You know, I understand because I love music. I love to dance. I love to sing. And I've been listening to a lot of that music since I was young. And you get addicted to that type of music. And for a while, for a few years, I had stopped listening to a lot of mainstream music because of the content of the music. And because I really didn't want to expose myself anymore to that music. And I was doing well, but then I fell off and I started listening to a lot of the stuff again. So I know from experience that it's not easy. So I'm not saying something that I myself don't understand and don't struggle with as well. I understand. But I think if you really, really want to be careful of what you're listening to, then focusing just on Lil Nas X is not the answer. You're going to have to get rid of a lot of the stuff that you're listening to that's mainstream, because a lot of it is rooted in the same stuff. It may not be displayed the same way. It may not be as in your face and as blatant as maybe as much as maybe his imagery is or some other people, but it's rooted in the same ideologies. So I'm just saying. There's a lot of people who love to watch shows like How to Get Away with Murder and Scandal and Lucifer. Those shows are not. If you're gonna get mad at Lil Nas X, you gotta get mad at those shows too, because like I said, the ideology and the agendas are the same in a lot of these shows and a lot of these movies, even Disney. Okay, we're not even gonna get into that, but even children's stuff is so dark with occultism and all types of stuff in it. So even the children's stuff now is not even safe. It never fully ever was, but I think it's gotten worse in my opinion. So that's why I say, you know, it's nothing wrong with you having an opinion about Lil Nas X, but my thing is like, if that's really what you're upset about, the stuff that he's putting in there, or at least whoever he's working for, because sometimes it's not even them, then you got to be upset about a lot of other music too, because there's so many artists that do the same thing. They just display it in different ways. Or maybe the spectrum, because there's a spectrum of how lewd and how out there people do things, right? So maybe somebody is not so far on the spectrum like he is, but they're still on that same spectrum, right? So I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I think a lot of celebrities need to be honest with themselves as well. Like, if you're saying that you're not catering to children, then you need to not cater to children. You need not get excited and start laughing and thinking it's cute when children are dancing to your music that's completely lewd and violent and not for children. You know, if I'm an artist and I have songs about killing, well, I don't even know if I can even say that word, but because, you know, on YouTube, they don't like certain words. But if I'm an artist and I have music about harming people, why would I then smile and think it's cute when I see a 7-year-old little girl or boy rapping along to that music? Wouldn't that be abhorrent to me if I'm not for children? I'd be like, oh my goodness, that's not a good thing for that child to be rapping my lyrics like that if it's about that type of stuff that's not for children. So they'll like actually get happy and they'll get so excited when they see little kids, you know, gyrating to their sexual music or rapping to their violent lyrics. But then at the same time, they'll say that their music is not for children. Or they'll go to schools and they'll do all these different things to cater to children. But then when parents get upset because they say, well, you're catering to children, you're saying that you're so proud that children are looking up to you, but then when we call you out on the stuff that you're doing, because a lot of your audience is children and teenagers, then you say, I'm not a role model, I'm not for the children. So I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy with the artists as well. Not all of them. Some of them don't go to schools and they don't cater to children at all, so they don't do that. But some of them do, and I don't like that, because it's like, well, it's either you're for children or you're not. I'm not saying that if an artist is not for children, if a child comes up to them and says, oh, I like you, they can't be like, oh, hi, you know, and be nice to children. But my thing is like, that's not what they're doing. They're going beyond that, and they're going to schools. They're putting out stuff that, like maybe they're creating products that are geared towards children. They're, like I said, getting so excited and happy when they see kids rapping to their lyrics about harming people, and or about having, you know, promiscuous sex or something. I don't know, something that's just not for children. Like they just, it's like, you have to pick a side as an artist. So I don't know. It's just, and I'm sure that's easier said than done. I'm sure that on one hand they don't want to be seen as a role model, but then they also get excited when they see kids looking up to them. So it's probably a fine line, but I just feel like a lot of times it's just because they just don't want to take responsibility for being called out on the fact that they are catering to children by, like I said, going to the schools and, being so excited that kids are rapping to their lyrics. But then when something happens and they're being called out for that, now they don't want to take responsibility for it. So they only like it when it's positive, but when it's negative, they want no parts of it. They say, oh no, don't bring me into this, because I never said I was a role model. But you just said the other day that you're so proud that kids are looking up to you. So I'm a little confused. So I feel like things like that, it's just, yeah, the whole thing is just a big, it's a lot to it. It really is. And excuse any noise in the background because, yeah, that's New York City for you. Oh yeah, we also put celebrities on pedestals. So that goes back to the thing what I was mentioning before about how sometimes we don't call certain celebrities out on certain things because it's like they can do no wrong. So if another celebrity was to come out and say what Dababy said, would people have been just as outraged? Especially if it was a woman. If it was a woman and she's somebody who people are ready to jump down your throat for if you say anything negative about them. We know a few artists like that. If that person had said the same exact thing, would people have been ready to cancel that person as much? Of course, they probably would have called it out, of course. But would they have been as quick to cancel that person? Because I've seen female artists say and admit to doing all types of stuff, and they were never canceled. So that's why it makes me kind of wonder, does it matter when it's a different type of person? Because I don't know, like I said, I'm seeing other examples of people who are doing other things that sometimes they're even more crazy, and they're not being canceled for that. So like I said before, it's almost like we pick and choose who we want to cancel. And when people love a celebrity, that, like I said, that celebrity can do no wrong, especially if it's a woman. That's one thing I've noticed. Except Chris and Michelle. That's one thing I'll say. People pick and choose with women too, because except Chris and Michelle, because a lot of people canceled her to this day. I don't know why. I mean, I know why, but it was just like, really, So it's just really interesting to me. It really is interesting to me. I still follow Chris and Michelle. It is what it is. People can get mad about that if they want, but I'm not going to cancel her. And that's that. Because if you're going to cancel her, then you need to cancel some other women, like I said, who've done egregious things and even admitted to all types of bad stuff that they've done, and they have not been canceled. So I'm not going to cancel her. And the last thing I want to say is that, which is kind of adding on to what I had just said about the cancel culture. That is nothing wrong with speaking on poor behavior, but this fake cancel culture stuff is just kind of weird. It's so weird to the point that now celebrities actually laugh. They laugh and they say like, "Oh, you are canceling me for the 15,000th time," blah, 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 blah. They laugh. They think it's funny because they know that they can get away with anything because nobody's canceling them. But then, like I said, the people who really haven't done any of those horrible things that they've done or said those things, and when I say horrible, I mean according to people's standards, they cancel this other person, but they won't cancel this person that's laughing about it because they know, you're not going to cancel me. You may stop listening to my music for a while, or you may be outraged about it, but you're going to go right back to supporting me anyway. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show the power that some people have in the industry where they can do no wrong. Yeah, so like I said, we pick and choose Oh yeah, and also a lot of times we are drawn to these outrageous things that are being shown in the entertainment industry because we all have a natural debase parts about us that we may not want to admit, right? So the violence and the provocative dressing and the dancing and the lyrics and the lewdness and the occultism and the darkness and the spiritualism, all that stuff, people are drawn to that. Now, different people are drawn to different things. I'm not saying everybody's drawn to the same things. No, some people are going to see the lewdness and they're going to be abhorred by it, like, oh my gosh, that's so nasty. Who could dress like that? Who could have this exposed like that? But then they may be drawn to the violence. And then somebody else may see the violence and be disgusted by that, but then they're drawn to the occultism and the spiritualism, like Harry Potter or all these other movies and shows that have a lot of dark spiritualism and other stuff in it. So people are drawn to different things, and that's why I say I feel like the outrage is not always as genuine, because my thing is like, how can you watch a show like Lucifer, but then get mad about somebody who has what appear, I don't know, I didn't see the video, what appears to be some type of devil in their music video where they're like riding him, or I don't know what in the world he was doing, but like, because like I said, I didn't watch it, but it's like, if you're gonna get mad about those things, then you have to get mad about it in both instances. You can't watch a show like that but then get mad when the artist does that. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. You can't get mad when there are artists who are calling themselves, you know, these names that almost like, it's almost like blasphemous the way that they call themselves, almost like they're some type of god. But then you don't get mad when you're watching things like Family Guy that actually makes fun of God and has, I remember there was one episode where they had like God, it was almost like he had like a condom in his hand, just crazy things. So that's why I say we pick and choose what we want to get angry about. And I'm not saying we have to get angry about everything, but I'm saying, are you getting angry about it because it's a certain person or a certain race or a certain lifestyle? Or are you getting angry about it because it's a certain message and ideology that they're pushing? Or it's because it goes against some of your morals and your values and the principles that you stand on? Because if it's really about the morals and the principles and the values that you stand on, then you will call it out regardless of who's doing it. You will not entertain it and you will not watch it. Or maybe you may still watch it because maybe you struggle with it, but you will be at least honest about that and you'll be trying to do what you can to minimize how much you keep exposing yourself to it. You will not make excuses for one person, but then cancel the other person who's doing the same exact thing. You will not watch a show like How to Get Away with Murder, but then get mad about rap artists who put, violent lyrics in their stuff. But you're watching a show called How to Get Away with Murder. You're watching movies that are murdering people. Some movies actually almost show like somebody's getting murdered. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't, it's like it's either you're against it or you're not. You know what I mean? So I just feel like a lot of times the outrage is not always real, or it is real, but it's not really, it's rooted in a lot of hypocrisy. And it's a lot of picking and choosing. So I'm not saying that any of these four people are innocent or whatever. That's not what this video is about. I'm not here to pick sides because, to be honest, I really don't know any of these people personally. And even if I did, I wouldn't put that on the internet about what I know about them personally. These are artists. They are entertainers. This is what they do. They never claim to be upstanding, high morality type of people. That's never been something that they've done. None of their music displays that as well. So we should not be surprised. Like I said, I'm not saying that you still can't call out stuff, or like I said, use it as a teachable lesson or something like that. Everything can be a learning lesson from what we watch or what we hear. But getting mad and calling these people names, and first of all, that doesn't really solve anything. And two, if you're going to go and support other artists that put out the same content, or you're going to go watch movies and shows that put out the same type of content, then it doesn't make any sense to get outraged about it, because you're still supporting the same ideologies. You're still supporting the same agenda, which is all over the entertainment industry. It's in the music, it's in the movies, it's in the TV shows, it's on social media, it's everywhere. They're pushing this stuff on purpose. A lot of these artists aren't even some of them are free, but some of them are not free. They actually are putting this stuff out because they're being pushed to do this. And if they were to come out and speak out against it, they will be in trouble. So a lot of them are not even free agents. You know what I mean? So a lot of times the outrage should really be towards the industry itself and not towards the artists, because we don't even know who's really free and who's not. Now, I'm not saying that if you're not free as an artist and you're putting it out there, you're innocent. No, I'm not saying that, because you still have a choice. But we really don't know what's really happening behind closed doors, you know? So I feel like really the outrage should be towards the industry, because they're pushing this stuff. Because if it's not this person saying it, it's going to be somebody else saying it. If it's not that person doing it, it's going to be somebody else. Like I said, a lot of things that we get angry at these artists, that they're putting this stuff in the movies, they're putting this stuff in the TV, they're putting this stuff in all types of parts of society and the media. So like I said, you can't support it one way and not support it the other way. Like, you can't pick and choose, you know? So that's basically all I have to say with that. You know, it's kind of like with Nicki Minaj. Everybody said they was going to cancel her because of her husband or because of her brother. And, you know, people didn't cancel her. Then maybe you had a few people, but I think overwhelmingly most people did not cancel her. Cardi B, people did not cancel her. And she is admitted to all types of stuff. They didn't cancel her. You know what I mean? The list just goes on and on of so many artists who people said they were going to cancel that they did not cancel. But then they'll cancel Chrisette Michelle. Like, make it make sense. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand. Make it make sense. None of it makes any sense. So like I said, I'm not saying people can't be called out. Things can't be addressed. Yes, I do think that as adults, we do have to be careful of things that we say. And we do, because there are consequences to that. But I'm saying, if you're going to call it out, regardless of who's doing it. If you're going to push aside a certain artist because they have certain type of music and music videos that you find abhorrent because of the morals and the values and the principles that you stand on, then don't support it when another artist does it. Don't watch shows that also promote that. Don't watch movies that also promote that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times we don't want to be honest to ourselves about things that we actually like. So instead of looking at ourselves and saying, you know what, I really shouldn't even be listening to this type of music because it goes against our morals and values, instead we want to look at the artist and say, oh my gosh, how are they putting out this horrible, nasty music? How are they putting out this violent, horrible stuff? Oh my goodness. But then go and watch a show that is also violent and full of lewd and perverse ideologies. You know what I mean? So it's very easy to 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 mis misdirect our anger elsewhere, instead of also looking at ourselves as well and making sure that we are clear about what we believe in and standing on it, because a lot of people don't know what they believe in and they don't stand on it. A lot of people are only going according to certain ways of thinking because everybody else thinks that way. A lot of people, if you ask them, what do you truly believe, they don't even know. They can't even tell you. A lot of people, when they vote or when they make medical decisions or when they whatever they do, they can't even tell you for sure why they're doing it. They're just repeating what the media said. Oh, the media said you have to do this, so I'm going to do it because that's what the media said to do, or because my doctor said this, or because this major artist said they're going to do it, so I'm going to do it too. It's never like really like, oh, I've done my research or this is who I am as a person. These are my morals, values, and principles. And this is why I'm making this decision or choosing not to. They don't have that. And that's scary, because we need to make sure that we know why we believe what we believe, and we need to be able to stand on that, even if other people are not standing on that. And it's not easy, because people will ostracize you, people will make you a scapegoat for not believing how they believe. It's very difficult. Who doesn't want to be accepted? Who doesn't want to be, receive validation? Everybody wants that. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're not being drawn into groupthink and just thinking like everybody else thinks just because they think that way, or getting angry just because everybody else is getting angry. Why are you getting angry? Are you getting angry because this is really who you are, or is it because everybody else is getting angry? Are you afraid because it's a genuine, real fear that you've seen based on your own research, or are you afraid because the media keeps harping on the same thing and keeps repeating the same words over and over again, making you afraid, or because everybody around you is running frantic and they're afraid? Why are you really afraid? Because a lot of times we don't sit and we don't ask ourselves these things, and we're not really serious about that. So I think we need to be careful, and I think that we need to be consistent, and I think we need to be sure on what we really believe and stand on that, and not pick and choose based on who we like and who we don't like, or based on a person's gender or sexual orientation or their race. You know, one person can get a pass, but the other person who's doing the same exact thing can't get a pass. The artists are the problem and they're to blame, but then we go watch movies and shows that are the same exact thing or worse. It's like we have to, you know, be clear about what it is that we believe. And I'm speaking for myself. That's why I say we. We have to be clear about that, because otherwise we'll be drawn into this whole thing. This is a whole agenda. This is all by design. I'm not saying that what the baby said is by design. Maybe he really was just saying it because that's just how he feels. I'm just saying a lot of the other stuff that we're seeing is all by design. It really is. You know, so that's all I have to say with that. You know, I know this video is kind of long, but somebody will listen to it and let me know what you think about Dababy, Lil Nas X, T.I., Tory Lanez. I didn't want to put too much of my views into it. I just wanted to talk about the outrage and the things that I see that are inconsistent when it comes to the entertainment industry. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I feel like this is important. And I don't see a lot of people talking about that. I see a lot of people just focusing on, oh, what he said, what she said, what they did, what they did. And like I said, I'm not saying these things can't be called out. I'm just saying that there's a lot other stuff going on that we tend to miss. But like I said, this is all by design. And there's a reason why they're pushing this stuff so blatantly in your face now. And if you don't agree with it and you don't accept it, you're a scapegoat, right? I'm just saying. So, protect your mind, protect your body, protect your spirit. Be careful of what you listen to and you watch. Be careful for your children, especially because they're vulnerable and they're impressionable. Your teenagers as well. Don't look to these artists to be role models, even if they say that they are. Don't look to the school system to be role models, because they're pushing stuff in the school systems and on TV as well that are supposed to be geared towards children. That's not even for children. It's not even children appropriate. So you have to protect your family and yourself. And like I said, knowing what we believe in and being able to work on that day by day, it's not easy. It's not easy giving up a lot of these shows and these TV, these TV shows and these I used to watch Scandal. I had to give that up. I used to watch Family Guy. I started kind of watching like a few episodes here and there earlier this year when I was away, and then I stopped that because I didn't want to go back to that. Yeah, there's a lot of different things that I stopped watching. Reality TV. Yeah, I stopped watching a lot of things because I realized the effect that it was having on me, and I didn't realize it until I started moving away from it, and then I started to see more and more of the effects of it. It's not until you step away from a lot of this music, because I've done it before. I've done it before where I took about 3 years or so where I wasn't listening to mainstream music, at least not. I was listening to some type of mainstream Christian, but even that I was starting to kind of calm down on, because I was like, is this really Christian? But yeah, I now see, now that I've kind of struggled with it again, I see the difference. You know, I see the difference, and it makes a major difference in what you listen to and what you watch. It really does. It really does. So take care, y'all, and I will come back with another video. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about everything that I've said, and also these people that I've mentioned. And I'm not talking about get on the internet on here and start calling them names, and no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just giving your opinion in a respectful way, as much as possible. And yeah, we can have a dialogue about that. So, because I'm not here to tear anybody down in particularly, I'm just here to talk about things from a different perspective. So yeah, talk to you again soon. Hope to talk to you in the comments. Bye.